All right. Next up, Order OFY 25-055, Proposition 2.5 ballot question. So this one might take a little bit of time, but I will start off by stating that what I think that we'll do, obviously we're going to vet this out as a council and go through all the individual items that are being proposed. I think we're going to put some numbers up on the screen, and we'll take this in, like I say, different pieces, at least to set up, like I say, discussion and what will potentially be on the override. I'm just trying to get my stuff in place here. There we go. All right. So, what, and are you passing out sheets now to people? Yeah. We'll pass some sheets around to the council members, and everyone in the crowd can see what's on overhead. So what we're seeing currently, the first one was just the initial override number that we put on out based on the school committee's request. Roadway repairs, all the same. Budgetary cuts that were being made to general government, police and fire for FY26, and then services to meet community demands, including additional police, fire, DPW, Council of Aging, things of that nature. Then we've had some work to try and bring this number down. So there's a couple of different versions that you're seeing down below, ranging from 7.8 million to 7.7 million, but both addressing different needs in each one. So what I will first probably suggest that we'll do is we'll just take each grouping as a whole and discuss it as a council, and then kind of break down each category as we get down there. Discuss what we want to see move forward, what we don't want to see move forward, and come up with a number hopefully by the end of this process. So the first one we'll certainly bring about is the Bridgewater School Committee number. As you see, it's $6,034,614.95. That is our number that's being asked for the town of Bridgewater. Pretty much no wiggle room on that one. So just asking to the town attorney, just going to ask for a voice vote if we want to approve that particular number to go forward. Would that be within reason to do?
At this point, I would like to make a charter objection.
Hold up.
She has the right to make a charter objection.
All right, make a charter.
Is this the first reading, though? I believe this is the second.
Second reading, yes.
I'll have to check the rule, but I believe it had to be at the first reading.
So
anything to move forward. I'll look at the charter. You all can move forward. If I find that the charter doesn't say, or the rules and procedures don't say first reading, then I'll let you know.
okay, so continue discussion.
Continue to move forward. I'll check now.
Thank you.
I would like to just mention that the language says a charter objection shall have privilege over all motions and must be raised at the call for a vote. Doesn't say first reading, second reading.
I'm going to take a look right now.
Well, I'm quoting the charter.
Well, I will let the town attorney to take a look at that, please. So until we get to that point, do I need a second on that motion for the charter objection? No. Okay. Thank you.
We know why.
I would be happy to explain why. I would be happy to discuss numbers tonight, but I am making a charter objection to taking a vote tonight.
Well, I believe the charter objection kills all the further discussion if approved. So you're going to really set the timeline back here.
It does not kill the discussion. It merely prevents a vote from taking place because we need to delay the vote till we study things better.
Oh, all right. All right, that's fine. Okay, sorry. All right. Well, again, so the school committee number is where it's at, so I don't think there's any further discussion on that. The second area was critical roadway repairs. The initial number was suggested at $2 million. Second budget down below has a number of $500,000. I'll certainly open it up for any council comments or discussions on it. Just basically stating that obviously we've heard a number of residents in discussion looking to see road improvements made. Different ways of going about to get some of those repairs done. Number one, adding it to the budget, that would be there year after year, or two, a debt exclusion down the line. Again, that could take care of a number of repairs at one time, but I think we're at a stage where we do need to set up some sort of financing to help
I can weigh in.
improve. Oh, go ahead. Thank you very much.
It was as I
Ron.
suspected, Section 2-7, measures, emergency measures, charter objection. 2-7C, charter objection. On the first occasion that a question on adoption of a measure is put to the town council, if a single member objects to the taking of the vote shall be postponed until the next meeting of the town council, whether regular or special. I believe this is the second reading.
This is the second reading.
So the charter objection is out of order.
Thank you. All right, so we'll continue our discussion. So again, as stated, so if we add something to the budget ongoing, which again would be recurring funds that would be budgeted each year, we would have monies to address the maintenance and repair of the roads that would be there each year. But again, that's a decision for us to make as a council. Do we want to add a number to this as well? And now, you have a question? No, who wants to make some? Oh, go ahead. Councilor Murphy, please go ahead.
I just have a question for the town manager, or maybe Miss, or the finance director, sorry, Lori, to ask if you have the total dollar amount from the capital budget of the cost of the 6 roads. I believe it was 6 roads that we planned out. And if you wouldn't mind sharing that with this group. I just want to be upfront that whether it be $2 million less, more, there's still a significant amount of money that will need to be raised by the town or acquired by the town to fix the substantial construction of those 6 major roadways. So I think what we're addressing here, and again, this is my opinion, is really just the maintenance budget for DPW to keep up with the roads that we don't have currently allocated to just road repair.
So while Ms. Greeny's looking for that, I would say that the communities I find I've seen in the past that have the most success in road maintenance prescribe to dedicating themselves to putting aside a certain amount of money each year to address it. And it's never meant in an operating budget to cover all the costs or catch up. But certainly Chapter 90 is proven, although it's a wonderful funding source, it's not sufficient. Having the discipline to put some number in, whether it's 500 or it's something else, to say we're making a stand and we're going to move forward while we sort through the more challenging process of catching up on all those other roads, means that you'll be able to, and stick to the discipline of every year we're going to make sure that number stays in there, what people have voted for, gives you a chance to really start to catch up. And communities who do that find that over years, it does take time, actually get to where they're trying to get to. And that was the goal behind this, why we put it forward. How you doing?
I'd just like to say too, I guess, well, just continuing my comment while she's looking for the number.
Yep.
I think this is, it would be a great start to set up a fund, and I'd be happy to sponsor a resolution to ensure that this money goes into account annually, and it's just to address road maintenance, which is a major issue in our town. I would suggest to my fellow councilors to start with a price of $500,000 in this override. To me, that's a much more digestible number. Would take a little bit longer to get us to where we need to be, but I would suggest a $500,000 increment for road repair in this override with a 2.5% increase annually, of which I would put into the resolution. So that 500,000, 2.5 annually raised, plus our Chapter 90 money would give us a good starting fund to be able to address some very high-level road repairs in Bridgewater, of which we don't have a current plan right now. And so I think that's important to state, and this would get us there. And there's always opportunity to add to that in the future. So, 50 million?
We have 50,000.
50 million,
50 million is what?
the top 7 rows.
Oh, that's the cost to repair the roads.
So just so folks understand, the 50 million is to address those
All the
roads that were identified in the capital projects plan that need significant water work, paving, sidewalk repair, the full maintenance.
Well, the 50 million is just the general fund's obligation, and then it's 12 million of water and just water lines.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Chase?
Thank you, Mr. President. I can understand reluctance to take a bite at the really big number. Now, we had in the proposal, as it stands before us, the $2 million amount. And if it were to be at that amount or at some lesser amount, but to be wrapped up in the override as it stands before us right now, that would provide the basis for an annual, ongoing fund to be created for the purpose of rehabilitative road care. And just so the public understands, the roads that we mentioned, and we mentioned that number of 6 roads, those are roads that need full depth reconstruction, including all of the underground infrastructure, drainage, sewage, water, everything under the surface. So we're not just talking about patching potholes and giving you a nice, clean, smooth driving surface. We're talking about a full depth reconstruction. So I'm just not sure where, if not in the override, we can expect that a $50 million amount is going to become available to us. Now, one theory is that we could do whatever we choose to do here in the override, or maybe not include roads at all in the override, and then to think about debt exclusion funding. And debt exclusion is certainly a preferable funding mechanism for capital projects like reconstruction of roads. But where is going to be the appetite to do that on top of, let's pick a number, a $7 million plus override? In other words, if we pass the override now, within a year, is the town going to look favorably on a request for a large debt exclusion to remedy roads? I don't believe so. I frankly think, in my opinion, that the approach we should adopt is one of dealing with all of our needs at once. Rip the bandage off, and let's get right down to what we really need to address most critically. That's been my take on this question from the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. I have Ms. Grath, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Linney. Mr. Grath.
I have a question. Can an override be just for like 3 or 5 years?
No, override is permanent.
It's
It's a
definitely...
permanent levy of the tax floor.
Okay. So do we know that we could set up a different fund in our budget to go towards roads? Because like obviously they haven't done that, rather than having it on the override?
You just have to take funds from another account to move to a road account, which I don't think we have.
We don't have?
No.
All right, thank you. And one more thing. Are we going to talk about the budget for the school, or we're just skipping over that?
Well, I believe that, the budget is, we could come back to it. Again, the number is the number. I just don't know if there's anything more to discuss regarding that budget number. That's what's being asked of the town.
I would like to
We can't whittle that number
discuss.
down.
I like to discuss a few things.
All right, well,
When the
we'll
time
finish the
comes.
discussion on
When
this
the
one. We'll
time-
come back to schools then. So, Mr. Lindy.
So question to you, to Mr. Murphy. Yours is kind of like the compromise. Instead of $2 million for roads and an override, you're talking $500,000 in the override, and then each year it'll go 2.5 when everything goes up 2.5. Correct. I think that's a great compromise and a great way to do it. I was in favor of pulling the roads from the override because I thought it was better as a debt exclusion, but I think this is a good middle ground.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this? Comments? All right, the only thing I will then add is just going back, if you recall the numbers, it takes about $300,000, a little over $300,000 to do 1 mile of simple top coat. about 750,000, I should say a mile. A mile of a more in-depth replacement is about 750,000, and then when you're dealing with infrastructure, it's about 1.2 million per mile. So even at 500,000, it helps, but it's not doing a whole lot. My suggestion in my numbers, I was looking at cutting it down to $1 million. Just seeing that we could do some significant improvements in the road, and if we keep that in our budget each year, we can make some serious ground in repairing a lot of the roads here in town. And again, you all have heard the public speak to this. They do want to see improvements in the roads. There's a lot of roads here that have a lot of trouble. As to Mr. Chase's point, I think, again, down the line, to go now on the debt exclusion on top of this override is going to be asking a lot. So I think if we incorporate this into the override and put this as part of our regular budget, I think $1 million would help us get a little bit further and not cost us, a whole lot more in this override. I will say that, let me see, I got some numbers here. I can find, excuse me for just one moment. I see it's in this group. So if we were to, basically, $2 million in roads would add basically $231.66 to the tax bill. For $1 million would be $112.86, and this is for a year. 500,000 would be about half of that, and about $60. So for each increment of 500,000, it would cost us about $60 a year. On the average home of about $600,000 to add to road improvement. So again, that's just the decision that we need to make as a council. How much do we want to put aside to address the roads that that the town needs? So go back to Mr. Murphy.
Just one more question, if I could ask Ms. Guarini, how much did Bridgewater receive last year from the state in regards to Chapter 90? And then I believe there was an additional award that was given to the town of Bridgewater as well, too.
Yep, that's correct. So the formula is based on the mileage of the road, not including the state, what the state owns for the major routes. So our allotment has been about 720,000, 718. And then with the fair share amendment, we were awarded another 368,000. So about $1 million. We were given a little over $1 million.
So ideally, this 500,000 or $1 million would really be
And on top of that.
on top of that
Correct.
annually for roads.
So again, looking at that number, if it was $2 million a year over time, with $50 million, it would about take 25 years to address all the roads.
Well, I think I would just be clear that I don't think this will solve the issue with the 6 roads. I think we have to put that on the table and be transparent that this is not going to solve that issue. Not unless we I don't even think $2 million would solve that issue, to your point, until 25 years from now. So I think there will have to be some type of approach by the town, not in the immediate, but maybe years down the road when a couple of these other debt exclusions fall off for the fire station or whatever it may be. I think we just need a sustainable something that is going to help our town when it comes to roads, and it has to be a digestible number for the citizens.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Lindy?
Through you to the finance director, is this something that we could just bond without an override?
Yeah, sure. You could authorize to bond. I know different communities, they authorize $1 million every year, but then it comes out of your operating budget when the debt is bonded. So, I mean, yeah, you could authorize the town to borrow, say you were doing one road for $10 million. So you could authorize to borrow $10 million, and then the road takes a few years or whatever to do, and then once it's bonded, then it goes on the taxpayer bill in the operating budget.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this? Mr. Loretti?
One of the concerns I have with putting roads as part of an override is that this council, the will of it is to put it towards roads. However, next budget cycle or the budget cycle after that, once that money is appropriated and part of the tax levy, that money is not necessarily reserved for roads and can be used for something else. And this is why I'm in favor of having this more of as a debt exclusion or bonding it so that we know that that money is going to be used towards roads, because maybe another council comes in and doesn't want to use that money for roads anymore. Maybe they want to use it for something else. So I think that's a potentially dangerous part of this option.
Thank you, Mr. Lurie. Mr. Murphy.
Just to address that, I believe I interpreted correctly in the charter, but there is opportunity for us to create a resolution and put that money in perpetuity into an account for that purpose. I also originally was for the debt exclusion to address the glaring need that we have in the $50 million. But I think the only thing that does is address those 6 roads and does not give us a path forward to how we're going to maintain our roads on a consistent basis. And I think that's the issue in town too. So I was with you, Council, already. I wanted to address those 6 roads and make major improvements. I was just concerned that our town doesn't have a sustainable path to continue to address this going forward too. So that's why I would suggest the 500.
Okay. Ms. Strigels.
Yeah, to echo what Councilor Murphy is saying, I was also for a debt exclusion. However, as I'm sitting here, I'm wondering what happens in 5 years when we have a 7th road. What happens when we have an 8th road, a 9th road? Things deteriorate over time. A road that is great now might not be great in 5 years, and then what do we do? So I am definitely more agreeable to the compromise solution of putting something in there, because at the end of the day, something truly is better than nothing.
Ms. McGrath, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. So a resolution can be changed, right? It's not permanent. We would have to make it in order to make sure another council committee didn't change it. It's because it's only resolutions just stating that this is what we should do, not what we have to do, right?
Well, I don't know if she wants me to address that, but I would say that I don't know if the town attorney wants to weigh in, but I think at any point the council could create essentially an ordinance or an order to replace the current one that I would potentially
I was
pursue
just
for
thinking
this.
maybe an order would be more solid than a resolution if we definitely want to keep that
Sure.
really separate.
Yeah, whatever the language is, I'd be in support of that.
And the other thing, because I haven't really seen this until tonight, so the one that you have, the third one, where you have the 500,000 for the roads, you're not taking away, are you taking away from like other areas to get this area?
This is all new money that we're proposing
No,
for
I
the
mean,
override.
I don't know what you've taken away on the third one.
So no, the initial line item in the first one was a $2 million line item for roadway repairs. So he's proposing.
No, but I mean the whole thing. You're going to go over each one so
Yes.
I know what's been taken away?
Oh, yes, yeah,
'Cause
we're going to go over each
It's
one.
not clear here.
Yeah, no, so basically, the suggestion is knocking it down to 500,000. I'm suggesting reducing it to $1 million. And again, this is a particular section that we're vetting out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments or questions? So I guess I'll put it in the form of a motion. I will start with a larger number and see if that passes, and then if not, we'll go to a smaller number and see if that passes. I think it's probably the best way to handle it. Do I hear a motion for $1 million for this line item to go forward on the override?
$1 million for roads.
For roads, as a compromise.
I would make that motion.
Mr. Chase, do I hear a second? I'll second it for further discussion. Any further discussion on that particular motion? Seeing none. All those in favor of 1 million, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, that seems to be defeated. So do I hear a motion then for 500,000 for this line item?
I'll make
So
the
moved.
motion.
Motion
Second.
and second by Ms. Strigels. Further discussion on that line item? Seeing none, all those in favor of 500,000 for that line item, please signify by saying aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed?
No.
And that one seems to have been passed. So let's keep 500,000 then for roadway repairs. Based on Councilor McGrath, just to go back to discuss the school committee number. Ms. McGrath, you had questions on that number?
Yeah, each year we give like 4 or 5 million more. And a lot of my residents are asking me, like, the town manager makes a budget so we can see what all the money goes for, the salaries, their expenses and all that. I can't even tell the residents how much the teachers make because it's not on the budget. How many buses we pay for, what's the maintenance? You know, we do that with our cars, we do that with every department that we have, and I don't understand why we can't get that. They do have to send in a detailed one to the Department of Education, and under the Department of Education says they should send one like that to the town, not in detail that we show all the funding and all that, but at least line items of what each department and each thing do. So how can I decide what is needed and what's not if I can't answer these questions?
Well, I believe, I've been presented with some line item type
They're all
things
jumbled in, but-
at the BR school committee meetings.
Yeah, but they're all jumbled in. They're not like our town manager presents it. You know what I mean? You know exactly where our money's going, the way it is. And I think asking for millions of dollars each time, we should see where that money's going. I don't think it's asking for a lot, especially with the Department of Education, if you look it up, says that we're entitled to it. And I've asked, so don't say that, I've asked since February.
No, I
Asked 3
understand.
different things. I've received a jumbled, with Rainham and everything, just all plastered line items. We would never pass that if the town manager gave us that.
No, I see what you're saying, but Ms. Lynn, you had a question?
So earlier at Budget and Finance, School Committee Chair Tim Fitzgibbons joined us. I don't know if through you, if it's permitted under our rules to ask him to come up and maybe address that question.
Well, I did ask him, and he said I would have to ask the superintendent for that.
I redirect
So
the
I just
question.
would like a little more time before passing the school budget, so I could get some information. Because I'm a town council, my residents are asking me questions on every district, because I'm a town council at large.
I
And
understand.
I can't give them an answer.
Right. Well, I'll redirect through Ms. Striggles with the subcommittee. Has there been more discussion as far as looking at the different line items to get more information regarding numbers that we can get to the counselors as well?
Unfortunately, the superintendent and the working group made the decision to not have a meeting until the 1st because there wasn't any real progression from either town. We have it on our agenda now to make a decision on what we're doing. Rainham is bringing it to their town for an official town meeting vote. And from that point, the working group is really more of a strategy group to get this passed and get the messaging appropriate to both towns in an equal and level playing field. So unfortunately, we have not had a meeting since the last time of any update that I've had.
And the only thing I'd suggest, Mr. Grath, and I can potentially call up the chair if we'd like, but we've been presented with a number. Rainham's been presented with a number. It's, again, in order to get this particular number covered before the next fiscal year, we're on the process that we're in right now. My hope was and is still to get more information that we can get to the public and get to the counselors regarding that number as far as details, but there's been a number of presentations by the school committee on what that number means, but as far as the actual budgetary numbers, again, we'll have to, talk to the superintendent and get you some more information.
Because I just say, if our town manager presented the budget the way they present it, we would not pass that. We have to know what we're paying, where the tax money's going. This is $6 million more. The past 2 years, we've given $6 million more or $4 million more, and we have no idea. I mean, they're saying...
Our assessments the past couple of years has only been, 2.5% to 3%. So I don't think that was that
No,
much
but
money.
we've given over each year. In 2024, we gave $6 million over, a little bit more than $6 million, and in 2025, we gave over $4 million. So we do give over each time, but
I
we just should,
understand.
I'm just saying, as, this is taxpayers' money, and they have a right to know where it's going. So, and it says in the law that we can get something like that. So I don't understand why we don't have it, and we keep pushing this down. I mean, this is important to know.
Oh, I
And I
understand.
wanna
I've
help-
gone to many meetings.
And I
I
want to
know
go,
what the numbers are.
I want to support the kids, but I think we have a right to know where the money's going. That's what I'm saying. I'd like to not vote on this tonight at that one and get that information for the superintendent.
I just don't know, I mean, the
I mean,
number is
they've
the
already
number.
sent it to the Department of Education.
Right.
All they have to do is reprint it out for us.
I understand, but again, whether we get the details or not the details, the number is still the number. And I don't think that number is changing based on what the school committee
Well, the
passed.
last school committee I watched, they did change their numbers.
Well, they went from the a level funded budget now
Right.
to one that asked for more needs, and
I'm just
not their full
saying.
number that they were looking for prior
I
to.
think whether we pass this or not, I think we deserve, the residents deserve to see where their money's going.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. Ms. Strigels?
As a member of the working group, I can fully commit to you that if that is a request that you have, I have no problem voicing it at the next meeting and having it be something that got us to the finish line of, we just need this commitment from you, the superintendent, so that we can push this forward and make sure that voters feel really good about voting for this. So if that's something that you would like me to do, I have no problem doing that.
I'd appreciate that, so would the residents that I represent.
And that's what we're going to have to try and do between now and the override election to get that information and details out there. Mr. Lindy?
So would it help to have more clarification from the chair of the school committee? Does Mr. Fitzgibbons feel comfortable? You said you would only come up here if someone asked you to.
I
So-
don't need it. I got all my answers
Do you
at
want to hear
the
from
committee.
the chair, Mr. Lindy?
Do you feel it would help, Tim?
I'm here at your pleasure of the town council.
Would you like to?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd like to vote.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, you have to take a vote to
Then
suspend the
I'll
rules,
make a motion to suspend the rules to
and
hear,
it needs to be a 2/3.
Okay, thank
to
you
to
very
hear
much.
from the school committee chair.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Strigels. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I have 2 noes. Is that 2/3? 3, 6, 8. That's 6 to 2. I got 2/3. It's getting late. Math is getting fuzzy.
75%.
That's 75%. Mr. Fitzgibbons, please. The microphone is yours.
Where do I start? Let me address Ms. McGrath's concern about millions of dollars each year. The assessment goes up to the town of Bridgewater about 3%, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, et cetera, which in the grand scheme of things works out to be about $1 million, give or take. Maybe it's 1.2 one year, maybe it's 1.1 another year, et cetera. It's not 4 million over the last 2 years each and every year. Ms. McGrath, I'd be happy to address where those numbers came from. Please send me an email. I'd certainly love to see where your numbers come from, and I can point out where they're wrong. But, you know, I appreciate being invited up here. One of the things, and y'all have a great resource here in Mr. Lindy, who served on a regional school committee for years and who understands how school budgeting is done. We have 9 what they're called 1,000 series, much like the town has series of 100, 200, 300, et cetera, that have to be reported to the state. The 1,000 series is administration. Yes, we have salaries, we have expenses, et cetera, in what the state, the Department of Education, defines as expenses for administration. We have 2,000, which I believe is instructional services, and that's probably where most of the money is. It might be 3,000. I can't remember all the numbers. 9,000 is other services. That's where you're generally going to find special education numbers, et cetera. Salaries go out through all of them. I don't believe that, and maybe that it's aggregated in a certain way. I haven't seen a budget for a while from the town manager. I don't believe that salaries are aggregated across all the different departments, but you can definitely see what I remember fondly from my days on the town advisory board as 101s, 102s, and 103s. Your personnel expenses, your general expenses, and your special expenses. They're all little sublines of the department. So I've offered to meet with anyone who wants to sit down and go through a line-by-line budget with me. Ms. McGrath, Mr. Lindy took advantage of that, and that was, I believe, the superintendent's budget. No one's reached out to me since, except I will say there was a parent who reached out to the superintendent and asked for a line-by-line budget and went through it and made some very interesting suggestions back around, well, this seems high, et cetera, and the superintendent, listened to it and tried to understand it. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, but I do want to make sure everyone understands one thing. The regional school district sent you a certified budget number. You have two choices tonight, or, well, whenever you pass the budget, to accept or reject that budget. That's what your job is. If you choose to reject that budget, that's cool. We have then, as a district school committee, alternatives, ways to, come back and ask you for a different number, et cetera. And I believe this gets to Councilor Striggle's resolution later in the meeting. I just continue to say, if you accept it, then I believe you have to put the number the town manager put up here, and it maintains the same number right across all three scenarios I see here, because that's what the town manager believes needs to be funded in an override to fund the district that we certified and sent to you in our budget. So if you can reject the budget, that's cool, and that's within your rights. And that it just triggers a whole different cavalcade of events that are going to happen then. So I just urge you to take the number as it is. If you're going to put an override on the ballot, you don't even have to put an override on the ballot. You can just say, we'll take the $6 million and we'll pay it out of general revenue. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. Okay? That's why I'm here supporting this $6 million and supporting what the town manager's recommended. I'm supporting what the town manager recommended for roads. I mean, I drive on them every day. I'm here supporting increasing, and this is me as a person, and is supporting increased fire and public safety. I've said all along, and police, I've said all along at school committee meetings, everyone in this town has been asked to do more with less for too long. It's time we have to realize we can only do more with more. And I'm sorry to go on a rant, but I'm happy to answer any questions if people want to ask me anything, and I'm here.
Thank you, Mr.
At your
Fitzgibbons.
disposal.
I'll go ahead and if any council members have any questions for Mr. Fitzgibbons while he has the podium.
I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Ellenberg.
Hello.
How are you in terms of contract negotiations with the union, and do you anticipate going above 2.5?
Well, we're in, I assume you mean the teachers' union.
Yes.
We also are going to be opening negotiations with our custodian union very soon. We have ongoing negotiations with our teachers' union, and I'm a member of the negotiating committee, and I'm not going to reveal our negotiating strategy in a public meeting where one of the people with whom I'm negotiating is sitting right behind me.
Right.
So but I can say I believe that both parties understand the environment which we're in right now, and I'll just say it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbons. Any other questions? Mr. Lindy.
So we just went through an exercise on the roads here. We talked about 2 million, we talked about 1 million, and then we ended up at 500,000. So my question, and I'm not recommending this, I'm just asking a question, so whoever's in the room, please don't shoot me. The question is, what happens if that number was 5 million instead of 6 million? Do we have a scenario for what ifs?
The school committee certified and sent you a budget, and it's your job to accept or reject it. However, what I will say, Mr. Lindy, is that if you remember, this process, it actually began last year when we approved the budget that we sent to you, which resulted in at least 24 staff layoffs from the Bridgewater Rainham School District, okay? And Ms. King, our budget chair at the time we voted for it, and we did so over the objection of a couple members, but we passed it, and we sent it on to you and certified it, and it was approved. Said if we don't have significant increase in financing next year, we're going to be here again or in a worse place. As we started to look at what the Chapter 70 formula was giving for inflation, et cetera, I don't know about you, but I haven't experienced 1.5% inflation. That's what it was giving us early in the school year in September or so. And I believe the superintendent reached out to the town manager and the Rainham town administrator at that point and said, you know, Houston, we have a problem. And there was, I believe, staff level discussion into October around that. We, as a budget subcommittee of the school committee, had a meeting with town officials in early December, and the superintendent essentially previewed what became the superintendent's budget in January, and let everyone know this was what we would be looking for. So fast forward to January, and the superintendent down in the BR auditorium gives his presentation on you know, what his budget is, and obviously it's a needs-based budget, and we have to look at what's right for the towns, et cetera, and then we hear from, you know, our two different towns' finance directors on what can be affordable. Well, what's affordable is going to be, and that's about a 4% increase from Bridgewater is what we would ask, we're told we could afford, and 3-something in Rainham, just the way the numbers work. It's a long story. No one wants to get into it. I'll put them to sleep. But whatever it is, that would result in at least 80 positions being let go from Bridgewater Rainham. That affordable, what could be afforded budget. So then the budget committee took, the school committee took it under advisement, referred it to the budget committee. We worked hard on cutting it, turning it, paring it down. And so at our budget hearing at the beginning of March, if you all, I think most of you were there. Actually, let me back up about a week from there. We had a joint meeting with the budget subcommittee, the entire town council, or almost the entire town council, and the Board of Selectmen from Rainham, and said, you know, here's where we are, et cetera. And I believe Mr. Lindy suggested we have a small working group that I then put together at our next meeting, asking for 2 members from the Bridgewater Town Council, a selectman and a town finance committee member from Rainham, and we could be a little more agile and understanding on how we can work through things. So during that budget hearing, Ms. King, our budget chair, presented what would be called a level services budget, which means we just turn the page. Everyone keeps their job. We do the same things we did last year. Prices go up, et cetera, and we've got everything we can. And we have budget hearings for a reason. We're here to hear from people. And that was met not very favorably by the parents, as you can imagine, not very favorably by the staff, as you could imagine, but also when we went to that smaller budget group, there was a general consensus, and thank you, Ms. McGrath and Ms. Striggles and Mr. Lindy for showing up and inputting to that. There was a general consensus at that meeting, well, this is going to require an override, even just to turn the page. You might as well try to do something to move forward. And we took that under advisement as a budget committee, and we directed the superintendent to get to kind of a middle number. There'd been some discussion around it, and this is what is reflected there. This is what's reflected in the budget we certified to you and to the town of Rainham to say we're trying to move things forward. We're trying to lower elementary school class sizes. We're trying to do all the things that we hear need to be done. We're trying to do it responsibly and appropriately. And then I have said, I'm not speaking now for the school committee, I'm speaking as a member of the school committee, that I can't see any way clear, if this override were to pass, and I hope it does, for the sake of the school, for the sake of the town, for the sake of all of our constituents, is I can't see any way clear not to commit to having a 3% per year increase in expenses overall, going forward. And that's going to be very tough to manage, but we'll have to try to make that work, because if we don't, we know the towns can only go up 2.5 plus new growth, which is about 3 to 3.5% a year. We can never count on the state over the last 10 years, I believe. It's been about 2.7 to 3.5% increase per year in Chapter 70 that the state's given us. So again, factor in a 3% conservative-ish number in the middle. So if we don't do that, what we're going to do is create a structural deficit going forward. And this is what I've heard everybody talking about, is saying, well, how do we know we're not going to be in the same place in the future? I can tell you, we'll be in the same place if we create structural deficits. We can't do that. That's on us. That's on us as a school committee. That's on you as a town council going forward on your side of the budget, not to create structural deficits. Structural deficits have already been created with what's happened with the roads. We need $50 million for roads, $50 million, plus $12 million in higher water fees to deal with roads, and that's just 5 or 6 of them. I always say this. In Bridgewater, we're really, really good at kicking the can down the road. We've kicked the can down the road long enough, in my opinion. And, we can pay the piper, or, don't be shocked at the results. You can't have both.
Thank you, Ms. Fitzgibbons. Anything else? No. Yeah, Ms. Striggles, go ahead.
Thank you. Hello. One thing that, as someone who...
Counselor, I'm proud to say that.
Thank you. One thing that I've heard consistently, not only from constituents that are pro-override, but those that are a little skeptical of it, is if this is brought to a ballot, they do want to see a 5-year projection, not only how the town plans to manage the funds, but how the school committee plans to manage the funds. Is that something that we can have readily available in a very user-friendly visual slide so that people can actually see where the money goes year over year? I think it might help settle some hearts and minds that feel that the money may be mismanaged for the foreseeable future.
I will certainly endeavor to get that done. Obviously, if I asked you as a town councilor, could you do that for me? You'd have to check with Ms. Robinson and Ms. Guarini to get it put together nicely, so I have to go through the same process, but I don't see why not. I mean, we can have the number, here's what we're spending, and the superintendent has committed in many public forums to not overhire. He wants to make sure every position is sustainable over the long term, understanding we can't create structural deficits. We can't overhire this year just to start laying off again next year. Who benefits from that? Nobody. Nobody does. And so, he's very cognizant of that, and I think we can put together. And again, as I suggested to other counselors earlier today, if you could send the kind of template you're interested in an Excel spreadsheet or something, it's a lot easier to understand what you're asking for when you put it in the way you're asking, rather than me try to interpret it and go through a telephone game of 2 or 3 people and then send something back that you're like, no, this isn't what I wanted. That way we can get it done quickly and more efficiently.
In fairness, it was on my notes for the meeting that we were supposed to have last week that got moved to the first. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you, Ms. Striggles. Mr. Loretti, go ahead.
I'll also echo Councilor Striggles. That was also in my notes, and that's something I would like to see. And I think you hit the nail on the head. That people are concerned about the sustainability of the long-term, viability of such a plan. We're looking at a 20% increase in transportation this year, a 16% increase in operations and maintenance, 29% increase in fixed costs, 34% increase in programs with other districts. So I trust you in the hard work that you guys are doing over there, but how can we assure that if we do pass this, that we are going to be able to keep to a 3 to 4% year-over-year operational budget moving forward? And obviously, there's no guarantees, but I think, as Councilor Striggles suggested, that we would all feel, especially the residents who are going to be voting on this, a lot more comfortable seeing how that's going to work and how that's going to look.
If you would like to direct the town manager to direct the police chief to stop any special needs student from coming into the district. I'm just kidding about that. That drives a lot of those costs, is the special needs students, right? One student could drive $100,000, $200,000, $250,000 a single, it's a one-on-one van transporting, several miles each day back and forth to the home with a nurse attendant with the student, and that's what they deserve. That's their free and appropriate public education, which is mandated by the federal government, endorsed by the state of Massachusetts, and certainly endorsed by the Bridgewater-Rainham School District, that we have to provide every student the education that they are entitled to, free and appropriate public education. So can we do it? If we see increases in certain costs, what we have to do, just like you're a businessman, Mr. Loretti, we have to find other places we could have to cut. I'm just saying, in general, we have to understand we can't create structural deficits. We can't control who moves in. We can't control the level of services they need. We have to be able to work with other parts of the budget to be able to get it to a place where we need.
Thank you.
Okay. And was there any further questions for Mr. Fitzgibbons?
Well, hopefully that was useful. Thank you for inviting me up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fitzgibbons.
I urge you to vote the number right in front of you.
Yes.
Put it on the ballot, and trust the voters of Bridgewater and Rainham to do the right thing. I always have, and they always have repaid my trust in full.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbons. I appreciate it. So based on that, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to officially approve that number.
So moved.
And a second by Mr. Chase. I'll go for a voice vote. All those in favor of recommending that number be put on the override, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
6-2. So that will approve that number on the override. So going on to the third item, the restoration of budgetary cuts that was suggested by the town manager for FY26. That number was $723,296.10, which if we can put that, maybe screen up of those cuts if we have that available. The original, yes. So that number, as you see it, was a loss of a firefighter, a loss of a police officer cadet, reduction of hours to the assistant to the town manager and committees, loss of a part-time financial analyst, loss of deputy building inspector, loss of a mechanic, and a heavy equipment operator, and then variety of expenses from different town groupings, including the town council, town manager, assessor's office, law offices, HR, IT, town buildings, police, fire, COA, and library. Again, for a total of $723,296.10. So again, that number was put back in the override to restore all those positions and expense cuts. Again, open to discussion and interpretation and what we want to do going forward. So I'll open it up to any councilors who want to make any comments on this. Ms. Striggles, I'll start with you.
I would just like, based on the two breakdowns that we see, whether it's from the proposed override layout the secondary one and the third option, what is included in the second and the third, so that we're able to kind of wrap our hands and heads around what we're looking at cutting or adding back in.
So those.
I can.
Go ahead. Mr. Murphy, you want to go over?
I would actually, can I make a motion to put forth a number of $422,658.33, which is the third option on the sheet I passed out and the third option that was on the board originally. And then Ms. Guarini, if you could go to that option to show folks what the individual costs would be. Thank you. And so, Ms. Striggles, well, I made a motion, so I guess it has to be seconded for discussion.
I'll second for
That's fine.
discussion.
Second for discussion. Thank you, Ms. Striggles. Thank
Ms.
you.
Striggles, this is what I consider a more digestible number here. Again, not accepting some of those positions. And I know I spent significant time with our town manager and finance director, who can maybe explain this a little bit further about how they got there to this number. But we did remove a few positions because I don't feel like we can go for that full amount again as a digestible number for the citizens.
So which ones did you remove? The bottom here?
She could. I don't know if Ms. Green, if you could put them side by side, but.
It'd be really small numbers.
While she's getting there, the original $723,000 was everything we took out to be able to balance the budget with what we included for schools, the 4.67% increase. And then from there, we took a much harder look at all those cuts and what ones were really important to us to keep in. And that's where we landed on the ones that were on the top of that list, which was the firefighter, paramedic, the police cadet, the deputy building inspector, but only part-time, and the heavy equipment operator for the highway division. It's not that we don't need the mechanic that was originally envisioned for the building of the DPW, but we feel that we can, trying to trim down even further, we can do without that. The financial analyst, we think that the treasurer's office has position adjustments and staffing that makes them able to be a little leaner than they were. And we may have another option to be able to fund the 5 hours for the person in my office that supports all the boards and committees. So that's an overview of the positions. On the expenses, we looked hard again at what were really important to the operation, maintaining our buildings, taking care of our vehicles. Firearms training, IT supplies, those were the most critical things, and that got us down to the 422 number that you see.
Gotcha. Mr. Lindy.
I heard earlier about the library. There were originally 2 positions, and then...
So those are on the fourth section of the whole
Okay,
override
fine.
discussion.
The new one.
Just making
There
sure.
were no cuts of positions to the library in this round,
Okay. And senior center is okay, too.
and no changes there.
Thank you.
So Blythe, so you went from cutting $307,000 in expenses, and we reduced that to what number now?
422.
658.33.
Thank you.
Could I
I
ask?
was just looking at the expenses number, not the positions number on that.
It's the bottom, the bottom one. It's this one.
I know what I mean. I'm not throwing the total number. I'm just looking at the 307 number for expenses, and you reduce expenses.
Oh, that went to 113, 113.
113. And what were the major things that are still kept out of that grouping? We dropped the compensation classification study, I see.
And Ms. Guarini, sorry again, could you go to 417.25 tab for the cuts? Just so the folks in the audience can see what we're talking about.
This one?
So we're talking about the expenses down the bottom here.
Yeah, that grouping number, the 113 number on the total. I'm just comparing that to the prior expenses that were cut of 307,480 on the first round. So the biggest difference
Just looking
I
very
see-
quickly, we wouldn't fund the compensation study, which we think is important towards future negotiations and planning for HR, but, sorry? No conferences for, no extra funds for council members to go to conferences.
Oh, yeah, we go to those all the time.
I don't know each one of them exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Can I ask what is the council budget?
What is
Total number for the council budget? And
hold on.
That might have been at 2,200.
There are still funds in, I was joking a little bit, there are still funds in there for you to go to say, the MMA meeting. It's just that it hasn't been spent over the last number of years, and so we decided that based on historical trend, we would reduce it a little bit. But
okay, because we don't get funding, we don't get expense money, and I think professional development, just like the town manager, should be available for counselors.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying we just looked at it and said we were trying to be more realistic about what is typically spent.
Mrs. Robinson, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
On the
Ms. McGrath, go ahead.
Thank you, sorry. You seem busy, so I was just
No.
skipping over you, I'm sorry.
I got
On the Proposition 2.5, you have, we were going to fund 4 firefighters, right?
That's in the last section of what we're talking about, the fourth
So are we
grouping.
still, on the one that missed, because see, I've gotten no information except, I got handed this at the time when I came in today. So on here, I'm not sure what's being cut. So I'm asking, is all 4 firefighters positions in this, the third one?
No, the 4 firefighters were in the fourth one, and that is in your packet on page, hold on. It's in your packet on page 163.
So these are 3 different,
Right, so what we're talking about now is the things that we cut out of the budget in order to balance it. We needed to eliminate 1 firefighter, the police cadet, and the other ones that we're talking about now. And then the fourth grouping of funding was items that we wanted the council to be able to consider if they wanted to add anything into the budget that hasn't been able to be funded in the past. And that's where we had the 4 police officers, the 4 firefighters, 2 library positions, and so on.
so which one are we considering right now, talking about, the yellow or the pink
The
one?
third grouping, things that had been taken out of,
But which from,
I think Mr.
There's one in each scenario?
yeah, but they have different numbers.
My motion was for the 422, which is the
422
third
number.
one.
The
With my name.
422?
Yep.
The 422. So what are we taking out? Are we taking out, like, line item? How many firefighters are we taking out?
We're not taking out any.
So we're keeping all 4?
We would
That's a different
restore
number.
one of the ones we took out of the budget already.
Already.
Yeah, we're just looking at the original cuts. So the original cuts were 1 firefighter, 1 police officer cadet. We haven't gotten to the
Oh,
the
so we're
additional
just doing
firefighter.
these?
We're not dealing with that one yet. That's the other added services to meet community demands. That's where that will be located.
Okay.
So just looking at it briefly, guys, so the line items that were in the original reductions, IT was reduced from 18.9 down to 16,000. Taking care of the town buildings was reduced from 98,000 down to 42, almost 43,000. Police expenses were reduced 36,860 down to 21,860. Fire 37,241 down to 22,241. And then library was 30,000. Expenses reduced down to 10,000. So those are and then the other expenses, like I said, compensation study was eliminated. The additional, the funds that were cut from town council, town manager, assessor's office, and law offices were eliminated, as well as $1,500 for a COA. That gets us down to the 113.
To Mr. Lindy's earlier question, the town council budget is proposed is $79,686, of which $10,300 is expenses.
And
The balance is staff.
Staffing to address the.
not us.
Yeah.
Not you.
No.
Okay. Can I make a general comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Liddy.
I know there was a lot of work put into this, but I think we just pretty much passed a $6 million school budget, and I think we are pinching pennies on this side. I don't feel comfortable cutting it to that level.
Thank you, Mr. Lindy. Any other questions or comments on this particular line item?
Well, I didn't get the comments. Sorry, Ms. Lindy.
You don't want to see this?
I just
It's
didn't.
very, it's a big reduction compared to, we just passed a $6 million school.
Oh, you're saying on.
Yeah, I just think,
You'd feel more comfortable restoring the 723
yes.
In total?
in total?
Something in between, maybe. It's just, I just think it's like,
the number
it's
that-
little, it's just my opinion as one counselor.
Okay, so we do have the motion on the floor and a seconded. Any further discussion on this particular number? Just want to move this along. All right, seeing.
Yeah,
none-
I just
oh,
need a little clarification.
Go ahead.
So which one are we working on?
We're working on the restoration of the budgetary cuts that was made for the FY '26.
So these are the budget cuts that, are
So-
the service impact budget cuts?
The bottom one,
The $723,000 line item. That was the FY '26 cuts that the town manager made in the FY '26 budget. So what's being.
The fire, the police, the public works?
That's, like I said, one firefighter, one police officer cadet, one financial analyst, deputy building inspector, mechanic, heavy equipment operator, and reduction of hours of the assistant to the committees and town manager. So that was the $723,000 number. It's being recommended to restore $422,658 of that in the override.
and maybe I misunderstood.
Okay, so that's the compromise number that you were alluding to, instead of the full 723. Ms. Strigels?
Can I ask Councilor Lindy, I know he says just restore the full number, but is there something specific that's missing from the number that's being proposed that he would like to be added in?
Not at this point. There's so many numbers. I just literally got this tonight at 8:17
Well,
PM.
that's- yeah.
I really don't like doing business, getting something the night of a meeting. Sorry. I don't.
That's
can
what
I-
we're
I,
vetting
I
this
think in all fairness, though, we have had these numbers for quite some time, and I think it's behest of all of us as counselors to crunch them on our own and see where we can cut, add, subtract, multiply when you need to, because there's a few different positions that have multiple people underneath that position. So I do think that time has been taken outside of this room to crunch the numbers. So even if this is the first time we've seen this, this isn't the first time that I've come up with a 7.7 or $7.8 million number on my own.
I was happy with your number.
Sonia, I just wanted to see I have no idea what they're keeping, what they're not. I was confused on that because one didn't relate to the other. But I know we've been looking at it, but everyone's come up with different numbers. I have no idea how, so that's why I'm just
Let's have a
questioning it.
discussion through the chair, please. So again, as Ms. Strigels alluded to, it's been on each one of us to go through these numbers and come prepared to this meeting to discuss this tonight. So if you have any further questions to debate on what we should put in or out of this number, this is what this is all about. So if there's any other line items that you have, go ahead, Ms. Strigels.
I would just add that despite the fact that this number is on the table, I do have a number that is half of this number. So just in the event we do need to continue
Yep.
working on getting the number down, I do have a number that is currently $218,195.20.
Okay. Thank you. We'll address that if we need to. Any further discussion on this number that's been suggested?
Just a question on I got Ms. Striggle's number there. How did you factor in the expense budgets to that? Is that something that you just went in and cut or adjusted, or are you just focused on the positions?
So I focused on police, fire, COA, library, and the town manage. Which one? There are so many tabs open. So I restored the Fire position, I restored the fire expense, the police expense, the COA expense, the library expense, and the special assistant to the town manager expense. And that's where I came to my number.
So the expenses would remain at 300,000 is the original number?
No, I pulled,
No, she reduced a lot of things.
Here.
Oh. I understand, but that's a total number here, right? But your number is way below that one with your second.
anything that's on that sheet is a combined 200.
Yeah, so that's even, I mean, that's, close to that.
I would just ask Councilor Striggles respectively, did you get the number from the town manager? How do you adjust the expense budgets for the departments without having them weigh in?
I just wanted to get to a point where we maybe had a middle ground of a low. Your number's 422. There might be something in between of in the threes that I think will just be a more digestible number for the public, especially now that we have $500,000 for roads.
I'll just actually redirect back to you, Mr. Murphy. So these numbers that are reduced that you have in this 420, whatever this number is, 422 budget, these were numbers that were reduced to numbers that these departments could work with?
Yeah, I worked with the town manager and Mr. Guarini.
Okay. All right. So very good. Any further questions on the numbers being proposed in this particular line item? All right, so let's go ahead and take a vote on that number. The only thing I might add, again, since it's a small line item, but and I might ask through the town manager or the town accountant. The COA number 1,500, what was that monies for? Is that just a reduction in their? That's not an overall budget form, right? It was just an amount withdrawn from their operating budget over there?
Yeah, so they had put in some miscellaneous expenses for building supplies.
Okay.
That we talked about and took out because most of the supplies for buildings comes out of the town building account.
Okay.
They
so
wanted their own, to order their own, their own supplies, so.
Okay.
We felt that we could handle that in the town building budget.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure it wasn't for any services or programs. Okay. All right. Any other further questions on any
Just
line?
clarification, what number are we actually voting on?
So-
I don't understand what I'm voting on.
All right.
I'm just going to say it.
So just to reiterate, so everyone's clear, the cuts that were made for FY26 came to $723,296.10. Based on what you see up on the board, that's what we're restoring to those cuts, which would be $422,658.33. And that would be the number we would add to the override number. So it's not the full 723, but it's restoring 2/3 of those services.
Thank you.
Okay. So that being said, I'll open, go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
I have to say for folks in the audience that talking to previous counselors, this is a process that has happened in the Budget and Finance Committee in December and has taken 3 months to kind of parse out, in workshops and meetings. I don't know how we got here, but I've spent significant time with our town manager and budget and finance director to put forth clear numbers on a budget so that we could break it down and understand it. So I don't know how else other counselors got there. I don't know what we're struggling with, but I tried to give us some foundation because it hadn't happened up until this point. And I tried to be as transparent and as open as possible so that we could have a conversation about this. Knowing the school committee put forth their budget and certified it in a budget that we're expected to approve on May 6th, which is our next meeting. And so I think this is, an uneasy, messy way to do this, and I wish it hadn't been this way, but I guess this is where we're at. So that wasn't a question, it was more of a comment, but I'm befuddled right now. I don't even know a word for this.
No, and I appreciate your comments, Mr. Murphy. Again, many of us have done a lot of homework on this. I, too, was looking to basically restore all 723,000 if we could, but understanding that we're trying to get this number down. And if you've worked with the town manager and the town accountant to come to these numbers, then I feel like these are doable numbers that should, get certain services restored. And then when we get to that last number, we can see where we go with that number. So with that, I will actually go ahead and just move this to a vote. We had a motion and a second. So those in favor of the 422,658.33 number to restore the budgetary cuts for FY 2026, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So finally, we'll move to the last grouping, which was the added services to meet community demands. This was the entirety of this was proposed originally by the town manager. This was a $2 million, $186.62 number. Obviously, again, kind of a wish list. So I think a lot of us have looked on trying to see what the needs here of the town, what's important, and what we want to put forward. We've got two big discrepancies here on those two second budgets there. One says 1.3, the other one says 783,000, but that was in deference to road repairs. But I will defer to Council Murphy if you want to introduce any particular number.
I would first like to make a motion for the 783,156.72. Make a motion for discussion.
And a motion and a second for discussion, Mr. Chase. Thank you very much. So we have something to work with here.
Ms. Greenie, if you could pull that one up, 1417. So I think, as President Perry mentioned, this is the wish list. This is above and beyond what we had budgeted originally. This is us recognizing that if the town's going to go for an override vote, that these services also need to be addressed. And so you can see the original amount when we had the $10 million amount called for $2 million in what we would consider a wish list. I've worked with the finance director and town manager to narrow that to 783, addressing the need, as we heard from the firefighter chief, of increased staffing from there. So to add 2 positions for the fire department, adding 2 positions for the police, who have also presented to the town and expressed a need there. We are going to address the library assistant. I know Council Lindy had mentioned that. The library had, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the town manager, a wait list of over 100 folks that are trying to get into programs to participate in library programs. And so I felt like that was a good need that we needed to address and to help with staffing over there. They've demonstrated that they have this need and have shared that list. And also a park steward. So as we have added significant acreage to our town for recreation, 37% increase needs to be addressed with staffing. And so to do that, adding a full-time park steward that can help take care of that land as well too. And so that brings us to the number of 783, 156, including all expenses for those positions.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any other councilors have questions
But I
on
see
this?
the amount. Is it for firefighters?
Can you slide that to the right a little bit? It's not fitting in the whole screen.
So this one, we've got 2 firefighters and 2 police officers in this particular version, which the other version had 4 firefighters, 4 police, social worker, library assistant. So that number came to 1.3. But when talking with Mr. Murphy and the town manager, he was looking to restore that 500,000 for roadway. So that, so he was trying to get this number down by that 500,000 so that he could add that in, because that was one of his priorities when we were talking, so.
Thank you. Any other counselor questions or comments so far? Ms.
Yeah.
McGrath?
I could not bring the fire department down by 2 for the past 3-4 years. They've been asking for 3, and we know that the town's growing. The police officers need 4 just at the schools. Now they're asking for 2 officers just for the schools. The mental health clinic is good. The counting on agent social worker, she's serving over 6,000 senior citizens. They have been asking since I've been on and before. Mr. Dutton said they've been asking for a long time. So I could not vote to take away the social worker. I mean, I know everyone likes the library, but we're up to par. I know the DPW needs it, but I think it's, the fire, the police, and the senior center has been ignored for a while, and I don't think we can do it anymore.
So, Ms. McGrath, just for clarification, we're not taking anyone away. This is adding positions.
Well, they need 4. Fire department
Well, I
needs 4.
understand what you're saying.
So
So I just want to
I'm
make
just-
sure you were clear on that.
I'm clear. We got 2, but we need 4 for the fire and the police. We have 1 mental health clinic, which I'm glad, but we don't have a council on aging for the social worker.
I understand.
The proposition, I'm going by what Mrs. Robinson had put in. And I'm just saying what I couldn't vote with this one.
Yeah, I understand. For other few comments, Mr. Lindy,
The social worker is in there or isn't in there?
on this particular number that he has, it's not in there. So again, we can add things as we feel important. It is? Oh, I'm sorry, mental health clinician, social worker. I'm sorry, there's one line item there. I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Defer to Blake for that.
Yeah, it's just hard to see.
Explain it.
There's a lot going on over here. My only comment would be that I would be, as town manager, I would be really pleased to see one of the 2 social worker positions in there if the council isn't comfortable too. I think it's an excellent, like roads, it's an excellent start in the right direction. And from working with all these departments since I've been here, I trust them to work together to figure out how they can best maybe not share, but utilize a social worker or clinician to support their various department efforts. Maybe not as far as we'd like to go, but we need to start somewhere. And so just wanted to offer that commentary.
And, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
on that note, if we go too high, we could risk the possibility of the following year or years reducing. Like if we did 4 police and 4 fire, we run into budget problems.
No, that funding would stay there for those officers going.
Because
forward.
it's an override, it would be
Okay,
there.
okay,
That's
okay.
correct.
Yes.
I just comment on Ms. McGrath.
Go ahead, please.
Just on Ms. McGrath, I too wish we could have 4 of each. That was the original intention. But knowing that we're adding back 1 of each position in our restored cuts, plus 2 more of each here in the quote-unquote wish list, my goal was to keep the total dollar amount under $1,000 per household annually. And so, big picture, knowing what the number would be, my goal was to really keep that under $1,000 on residents. So again, it was digestible. And I think by adding back another firefighter, police, or even 2 more of each would put us well over that $1,000 per household. And so that was my biggest concern, is the overall number and how folks are going to be able to pay for this. But just from a perfect world standpoint, I too would support that. But
Is it okay if I ask Mr. Murphy a question?
Go redirect. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. So we'd be up to 3 firefighters because we're restoring 1, and then you're having 2. And the police, did you ask if they wanted police officers or cadets?
well, we're restoring a cadet.
Well, the cadet does a 911. That's about basic.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is adding actual police officers.
right.
So a cadet and 2 other police officers?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm confused. Is the mental health and the social worker combined up there, or is it 2 positions?
It would be 1 position.
And which one would it be? Would it be the mental health clinic or the council of aging social worker?
The mental health clinician, social worker.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, so that was proposed by the police department. I'm just suggesting, because I think our department heads would work together to see if there was a need in another department. You know, couldn't be dedicated to another department, but it certainly could be starting down the road of providing that support. And I would just add on police and fire, I think, you know, 2 positions in each is a great start, but I won't be here for it, but you will see those department heads back next year trying to, like for the fire, it's 1 firefighter per shift, so there's 4 shifts. That's how you get to 4. I will count on Chief Schlatt to bring that request back, and Chief Del Monte as well.
And Councilor Perry, if I could just suggest, and maybe it'll be helpful to Ms. McGrath's questions and where we're at with the wish list. Ms. Carini pulled from the Division of Local Services what it would look like with this override number per household on average. So if you could pull that up, Ms. Carini, because I think, Ms. McGrath, this is the number maybe we could play with when it comes to a wish list, you know, where we want to be and what we want to add in might be helpful from that standpoint.
Right, that definitely is a great calculator. So I can certainly just make a comment that right now, sitting as we stand with what we've approved, we're at about 6.95 million with this line item to go. So, and just to give people some ballparks, including Councilor Murphy, so if we had an $8 million override, we're looking at about $920 per household on the average home. 7.5 would be 867. So there's about, like I say, a $60 difference with each $500,000 increment that you make. We could have an 8.5 million, and that would be 980 on the average home, on average. So we've got a range between 7.5 and I would say 8.5 to play with here.
Just so we don't confuse people here, can we just talk about these numbers? And Ms. Carini, could you walk us through, because I think you did a great job on the 902 number, or on the 7825 number that you pulled.
Yeah, so the 7825 number that you're discussing, the average taxpayer would be on a valuation of. Sorry about that. So the average tax single-family household value is $593,000. So their tax bill currently is $7,027. With this override, based on this tax rate, it would add $1.52 to the tax rate and $13, like Dr. Perry was referring to, per 1,000. So it comes out to $902.87 for the average household for an increase.
782.
Which works out to $75 per month. But the $593, $992, that's the average home value, just so people are clear on that.
Correct.
In Bridgewater currently.
Correct. And there are some other examples on this. And of course, once the counselors do decide on a number, we'll have a calculator on our website for people to put their actual valuations in and see how much, of an increase that would affect them for whatever amount it is that you vote on tonight.
So the only thing again, I'll open it up to any of the councilor comments. A couple of things I'd like to just interject is, the direction that we're going in is good. Based on the presentation that the fire department made, especially when the new fire station comes online and the distance between Station 2, I think it's a strong necessity that they need 4 firefighters going forward. So I would be in favor of going from 2 to 4 on that, which would add basically $267,840 to that number.
Could we ask Ms. Carini, could she plug that in for us just so we can get a good visualization of what that looks like? I don't know. I think it's just helpful to see.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Hey, yeah.
No pressure, Lori, no
For folks to
pressure.
see.
2 firefighters to that budget, please.
Change the 1 to a 2.
Right, another 267,842, 34. That number brings us to what?
1,050,999.
Just over 8 million, I think.
So I'm just adding 267 to that. 267, so that's 267, 840. So that's 12, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 10. So you're about 8.092 million to do that total.
Can I just say something, Mr. President? The police chief was in our finance committee meeting. And Mr. Lindy, didn't he just say a police officer left? Isn't that what he said?
Yes.
He lost one more police officer. Two?
It just left.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's down how many? Remember he said something?
So
Said they were-
he would have within his budget to replace that police officer as it stands. We're looking to add, like I say, 2 more on top of.
Right, but he said
what
he
the
was
numbers-
underneath the amount anyways.
Okay, again, but in
No, I
this,
mean, just adding a fireman, I was thinking,
yeah,
maybe another policeman.
yeah. Well, again, my proposal, I've studied, I'm adding 4 firefighters based on their presentation. And I do have two police officers going forward.
So
If I
that's
could
an
go,
$8 million override.
see, all right, just a little over 8 million. Again, that keeps the number right around 920, 925 for a yearly increase on the average home. And if we go back to the list again, that had the positions. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Yep. So we had the mental health. The only other concern I had, and I had this conversation with the town manager, assistant DPW director / or procurement grant coordinator. A lot of the grants and monies that DPW received are many times handled by that DPW director, assistant DPW director. And I just thought going forward that might be, especially with how much they do take care of here within the town, and it could be a position that generates revenue for the town, if that might be one to contemplate. But outside of that, I'm in agreement with the other positions that are on the board there. The only thing I was looking at adding might be the assistant DPW director. Any other comments from any counselors?
So my motion's on the table, but you're,
I'll definitely make an additional motion to add 2 firefighters to that number. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
By Mr. Loretti.
Could we get that final number just for that line item? All added.
I
Clear
believe she
number.
said it was 1 million.
I can't read that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There it is.
Can you read that for me?
1,050,999.05.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
and that would bring the total to, Ms. Greenie, sorry, one more time.
About 8.09293 million.
The total would be 8,008,272.33.
Okay. So it keeps it at right in $8 million.
Just one more time, please. I'm sorry. I couldn't write.
8,008,272.23.
Okay. So, I mean, that keeps you right around 8 million, and that number again would be, if we plug that in, that number in exactly for me. Should be about 920 to 925.
What was it again?
8,008,272.23. 23.
Thank you.
926.
It's $926.63 increase for the average taxpayer.
So
And this doesn't include CPA, does it?
No.
Say that again? Mr.
Does
Lordy?
this doesn't include CPA on the tax
No,
bill, does
this-
it? Okay.
No. So that keeps your goal of keeping under $1,000. I think it adds the necessary firefighters needed once that station comes online, and puts a few other positions in place that the town needs. And I think it's, you know, a responsible number overall. Any further? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, just a final comment on this entire process. I think this number addresses our glaring needs in the school, but it also, I think it's important for folks to know, we're also addressing 4 firefighter positions, 2 police officers, a mental health social worker, clinician, help in the library, and help with our parks. This is a huge accomplishment if we can put this to the voters to decide how this can go forward. But we're not talking about just schools. We're talking about addressing some of the other big needs that we have all talked about as a council for years. And so I think it would be appropriate for the council to vote this to put forth in front of the voters to make a decision. But I think this will help really achieve some of our biggest goals that, frankly, the council's been talking about for a long time.
And that tax number is 1339, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
So just to give the people in the crowds a little reference, surrounding towns, their current tax numbers, Middleborough residentially is at $13.41. West Bridgewater is at $13.67. East Bridgewater is at $13.67. Rockland, it's $13.67. So again, many area towns are in that same range of $13 and change. So this isn't certainly anything way out of whack for surrounding towns. So that being said, with that, I got approval on my extra firefighters or no? We hadn't decided on the.
Well, was there an initial motion of the
official number,
783,000?
Yeah, but I did an amendment to add 2 firefighters. I don't think I got a.
I'll withdraw my motion and you make the motion for the
for this
1 million.
Okay.
That's fine.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion for that 1 million number. Let me just get the exact number so we can read it into the record. Let's see, $1,050,999.05. That would provide everything that was on the board that Mr. Murphy had, but would include 4 firefighters, 2 police officers, and the other positions that were listed. I just don't have them written down.
I'll second that.
And thank you, Mr. Eagles, for that second. Any further discussion on that number? Seeing none, all those in favor of that number, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So that total number now will definitely be $8,008,272.23 would be the number we would put forth on the override. So I will ask for a final motion for that number.
I'll make
So moved.
second.
And second by Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion on that number?
Just a discussion question. Ms. Robinson, can I ask you a question before you leave? Sorry. Because that was a lot to digest for folks probably in the audience and watching at home, and even for some of us as counselors, what more can the town provide in terms of information to educate folks on this number should this vote pass tonight?
Our first step is going to be to not only put a tax calculator on the website, but also build a page that explains what all the parts are and what it would be, what the result would be, so that people at least know what they're voting on, even though, well, you need to decide whether it's one question or it's separate questions, but providing them with factual information about what it would do for the school budget, a restoration of the town budget, roads, and new positions.
Thank you. Is it possible for the town to host workshops or in-person sessions so folks could ask questions? Has that been done in the past?
I would defer to the town attorney on the law on that, but I would say we just need to make sure we're very factual information. We're not advocating for one side or another.
Right.
Depends on specifically what we're looking to do. So as that time comes, I'm sure you can ask what specific you're envisioning and we can try to figure out what we can do legally to accommodate providing as much information as you're looking to have provided.
Thank you.
Mr. Lundy.
On that, Whitman is going through a similar procedure, and they're doing town information sessions right now. I think there may be one tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I don't know if it's in person or on Zoom. It would depend on which one it is, whether I attend, but I wanted to see what other towns are doing, and I'll certainly bring that back to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Lundy. Ms. McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Mr. Murphy for all the help and being patient with us. No questions. Thank you.
Any other comments?
You'll have to vote a motion to amend what's here, and then you'll have to vote a motion to approve. So two separate motions.
On that total override number, yes,
Correct.
okay. All right, so the first, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
just
Loretti, please.
One point here. Yeah, Paul, thank you for your hard work. He and I had a couple meetings on this. And while we made a lot of progress here, for me personally, I would just like more time and some more information. I haven't seen a sustainable 5-year plan on the school side, but more importantly on the council side, because that's the order of business that we do here, as to how this is going to look year over year with increasing costs for healthcare, retirement, all the fixed costs. And while I think this is a good step in the right direction, for me, before I put this forward to the voters, I want to see a long-term sustainability plan. And for me, like I said, I just need a little more time to digest. I think this is really great work, and I think that we're getting there. But like I said, just for me personally, I need a little more time.
Thank you, Mr. Loretti. Just to add to that, I mean, again, and I mentioned, I answered an email earlier today. As far as the town goes, we have a 5-year capital plan. Budgets are worked on year to year. But as far as, capital expenditures and all that, there's, certainly a plan for that. And just to reiterate to the public, and I've mentioned this in some online videos that I've done, towns of similar size to Bridgewater currently, population-wise, for instance, Wakefield has a $125 million budget. Stoughton has a $139 million budget. Agawam has a $118 million budget. Milton has a $133 million budget. These are operating budgets for their towns. We're operating at $80 million right now for the same basic population that those other towns have. So just keep that in mind if we want to continue to move forward as a town and pay for the needs that we need as a town. We're definitely behind on our funding for those things. So we're trying to catch up. This helps us catch up, but it's still a ways to go compared to some of those other towns. I'll first, I'll ask for a motion to amend that last override consideration to that $8 million number. Do I have a motion for
So
that
moved.
number? Mr. Lindy, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor of the $8,008,272.33 override number to put forth in June, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries there. I believe we still should take a vote on putting it forth as one question. Do I have a motion to put this forward as one question?
Make the
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion on that item? Seeing none, all those in favor of putting this forward as one question, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries there. So I believe that Mr. Rollins sets us up going forward for the override vote.
No, you have special election.
Oh, yeah, that'll come up in a moment, yes. But just as far as the number and the procedure.
You'll have to make a motion to amend that as well, because that has the prior number.
Oh, yes, correct. Thank you. All right, let's get back to the agenda. And time-wise, it is 9:59. Mr. Lindy, would you like to make a motion to extend this meeting?
I'll make a motion to extend the meeting to 11 o'clock.
Let's see if we get it done.
Seconded.
Second by Ms. Striggles. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, our business will continue.
Does that mean we have to go to 11?
Well, we should finish the meeting by then, I'm hoping. Okay, so next.
Or earlier.
Yeah, or earlier. Next up, Order OFY 25-056, 2025 Special Election Warrant relative to this override vote. And do you have that piece of paper in front of you in that packet? So, in reference to this, we'll make a motion to amend the number listed in that special election warrant to the number just voted of 8,008,000, whatever the number was, $272.23. Do I have a motion to
So
amend that
moved.
within this order? Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Chase? All those in favor of changing that number?
That
in
was
this order?
33 cents, I believe, not 23.
Oh, I thought she originally said 23, but is it 33? All right, 33 cents. I'll make that notation. All right, so $8,008,272.33. All those in favor of making that amendment into this warrant, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, question. You have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not sure is this sponsored by you?
Yes.
It says in here on I guess the paragraph, I don't know if it'd be paragraph 3 or not, just under 2. Shall the town of Bridgewater be allowed to assess, yada, 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 in real estate and personnel property taxes for the purposes of funding the operating budgets of the town and the public schools?
Okay, well, it's just a different line. We can take that up. We can finish the vote on the number, and then if you have a question,
Okay,
we can
sorry.
address that.
Yeah.
No problem. So all those in favor of changing the number as amended, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. So, Mr. Murphy, to your question, what is it that you have a question of on that
I
line?
guess it would be an open question to the council because it addresses operating budget in the public schools. But I think residents should know that this also addresses some other glaring needs that, like the roads or like additional positions.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I don't know how descriptive you want to be. It's basically saying the operating budgets of the town, which is going to include everything that's not related to the schools. But again, through the process of advertising on the website, this just basically gets us to have a warrant to have this election. But everything, advertising, what's on this, I'm sure we put on the website, and maybe again, as mentioned, some educational workshops and things of that nature. But unless you want to make an amendment to the language, that's up to you.
Is this the second reading?
Actually,
Okay.
yeah, second reading to approve it tonight.
I'll second it if you make it.
I'm not. I
I
wasn't
don't even know what he's
prepared.
making yet, so.
I wasn't prepared, but I think we should.
Well, you previously, your last order, you voted, said that you're voting the following question, and that question was outlined in that prior order. So I think now you're obligated to vote that question to go onto the ballot.
What do you mean the prior order?
Your
Sorry.
prior order OFY 055, Proposition 2.5 ballot question, you voted the question, right, as it's written, and you amended the amount, but you voted the question. So now it's your obligation to vote that question to the voters.
So all the different topics.
Right. You can't now amend something you've already voted. You've
Yes.
already voted that question, so that question has to go to the voters.
Okay.
All right?
I got you. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that being said, so do I have a motion to approve the order as amended with the amount?
So moved.
Mr. Chase, second by Ms. Strigels. Any further discussion on the order? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.